And we're live.
We're live. Happy Friday, everyone. Seriously, happy Friday. I think one of the one of
Yeah.
the emails that I sent this morning was, "Is it Friday yet?" And then I'm like, because it started off that way for me. How about you, Lenny? How you doing?
Good. Yeah, I think the short week, the combination of
Oh,
short week plus me not doing a lick of work over the holiday weekend, and so this week has just it's felt twice as long. It's not felt shorter. It's felt
oh,
longer.
interesting. Because I remember Tuesday morning saying, "Woo, the week's going to go by fast. It's going to be a short week." And then today, I'm like, "Wow, this is
I
not
know.
a short week." So,
Yeah. Fridays I do not normally have an all day back to back meeting schedule. That tends to be like Tuesdays and Thursdays, or like my oh my god, can I go to the bathroom kind of days. Today is one of those days. So
you're this is just unabashedly male. Is
I,
all I'm going to say about
I
that.
I am I
Understand.
am 54 years old, Karen. There are things that you learn to prioritize
It's
at this
just
age.
so funny because, I have lots of males in this household who like, God, the conversations about going to the bathroom in this house. I'm like, seriously, because I grew up with all these females and like we just did not do that.
Look, I run on coffee. So there's a byproduct of that lifestyle choice. So
I'm
anyway,
sorry, folks. To everyone listening, I am so sorry. I apologize about the TMI that's shared. It's just, what are you
look,
gonna do?
roughly half of our listeners are men, probably roughly my age, and they're going, "I got it, Lenny. I understand." So, and the women are saying, "Yeah, I the men in your household, right?" So no shame. Anyway, but let's talk
Anyway.
about it is busy because you've got you're doing the heavy lift on
Well, so IAX Europe
events.
is coming up. That's really the heaviest thing going on right now is IAX Europe. I mean, poor Bridget on our team. She's, kind of coordinates all of the speaker and sponsor information for our big events. And she literally like came off of North America and she was like at 150 emails a day. And then is like went right into kind of Europe coordination. I think yesterday she was out sick on Tuesday and it was like, or on whatever day that was. Anyway, and it was like 200 emails. I'm like, this poor woman. So yeah, our team is pretty tapped. Hi, Cassie. By the way, hi, Cassie. I see you there. So anyway, yeah, our team is super busy, but Europe is going to be fantastic. So Carly put the graphic up. There's Exchange 30. If you want a discount ticket to it, please join us. It's so great. And you know what? Here it is, May 30th. So now it's coming up like, sooner than I can even wrap my head around, less than 3 weeks. I don't even know what I'm wearing.
Yeah, you'll figure it out the day of, right?
Well, no, I will
No,
figure it out at least the week before. There's always shopping involved with these events. So
that's and I gotta say, I was looking through the attendee list yesterday. Wow, I mean, it was super impressive. The number of brands attending,
yeah,
the big teams,
yeah,
big teams.
I know. I
So
love when they all come out and they, it's a good opportunity to, especially if you are, in Europe and you have offices in other locations, you can all come together. And I just think that's one of the benefits of our company and our IX events is when teams come together and use it as an opportunity to pull their teams together, as we do,
yep,
right? But
yep,
but when the brand attendees do the same, I love it. So,
yep. And then right after that, we have the grit form.
well, no,
So
right before that, grid
oh, right
forms right
before that,
before
that's right, that's right. It's the
they're
10th.
out of
Sorry.
sequence.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. My apologies. Yes, because Grit's published next week. I think
No.
it's still the schedule. Yes, um, and then the Grit forum,
Yeah,
which will be
and
great.
everyone can do the grid forum because it's virtual, right? So Europe, obviously, you have to travel to Amsterdam to get there, but the grid forum, everybody can participate in because it's a virtual event and free to attend and join us because
Yes,
we've got a lot to discuss about that. Don't
there
we?
is a lot to discuss, and you and I did officially figure out that
Yeah,
how we're
we
going to
did. That's
divide and conquer. So
what this thing last Friday when I was deer in headlights ish.
we did. We figured it out. So we're going to tag team. So you're I'm going to chair 2 of the sessions. You're going to chair 2 of the sessions, and
Yeah.
yes, it's going to be fun. But I'm telling you guys, the Grit Report and talking about the Grit Forum, it really everything we have been talking about on this show and kind of predicting where things were going to get to, which doesn't give us any special power, just paying attention. But Yeah,
Yeah.
it shows. So this is a big one.
Yeah.
It's big. It's big in size and it's
Yeah.
big in impact. So pay attention to that.
We should think about, because next Friday is our last exchange before the forum. So we should think about like an Easter egg or something, like somehow or another. Think about something that like we can do to kind of gamify anybody who shows up next week and hears us and then comes to the Grit Forum. Anyway, sorry,
You know,
creative
okay.
expression for my brain.
I have an idea because there are Easter eggs hidden in there. Nelson Whipple, who does the bulk of the writing now, he is such an entertaining writer, and he revels in sliding in pop culture references throughout. There's a bunch, and
Yeah.
they're pretty fun. So maybe we can do something around that. But why don't we let's dive into
Oh my God, let's dive into the stuff, because once
yeah.
again, between everything that we share, I have to figure out a way to like kind of synthesize it into something that wouldn't take us 2, 3, 4 hours to discuss. But I really do want to talk about Crispin Beal, because he's just iconic in our industry. And I think he's so linked to behaviorally. And this is, I think, an interesting change that I think is noteworthy. So IDX appointed Kristen Beal as their worldwide CEO. So he is, has departed from his role at behaviorally. And I just thought it was really interesting because I'm like, I don't know IDX, so I have to look into it. And it's more of a marketing communications firm as opposed to a purely insights firm. So what's your take on it? And then I'll tell you mine too.
I think Crispin is a marketer at heart, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's been in the industry, but when I saw that, it's like I can see how his skill set translates there very well. That's probably a really good fit. So hats off to you, Crispin. It is. I think more researchers should be in the marketing, especially AI enabled performance marketing. It's driven by data. I think that skill set can translate really well. So what's your take?
Yeah, no, I feel very similarly that his expertise in kind of, bringing AI into kind of the behaviorally ecosystem, and as more and more companies just in adjacent fields, are doing the same thing, like his expertise is going to be really valuable there. I hope that there, and this is our shout out to him, that he's also just been such a solid partner for Green Book. I hope that there's still room for us to all, to learn from one another in the Marcom space. And anyway, so kudos to you. Good luck to Behaviorally. Behaviorally is our Futureless sponsor, so they're actually quite active in both of our large events as the Futureless sponsor, not just a partner to Green Book. But so we have a lot of people from the Behaviorally team helping out at the event in Europe. So it'll be an interesting time to watch that company.
It will. Yeah. The only company that I do kind of an annual check-in with Alex Hunt for years, just because they're kind of canary in the coal mine. That's not really the term I was looking for, but they're just watching their transformation. There's a handful of companies that they're really, if you pay attention to these, you're going to get a lot of context about what's happening overall. They're just one of them. And they have been good partners. So let's I really want to talk about this spatial thing.
All right. So headline for everybody before Lenny gets into it, right? So Spatial raised $13 million to build interactive 3D AI foundation models. So I didn't dig too much into it, but the research that I did was like, this is sort of about video games. However, there's massive, if you think through that, there's massive implications for the insights industry. So go, and then I'll
no, I'm sure you went to the same place. I was like, when there's the gamification craze, right? The problem is building the games. It's a pain in the butt. It's expensive, et cetera, right? So there was just a process inefficiency in trying to change the form factor of research. And you see an advance like this, and was kind of waiting on, all right, if we're see what we've seen recently with AI video and kind of that real-time genesis, then thinking, all right, how's that going to play out in more interactive content? Spatial has done that, and although they didn't set their sights on research, I hope somebody is looking at taking that same approach or adapting their technology.
Well, and I mean, it's Hello Ara, right? Who, they've been speaking at our events and talking about their
Yes.
immersive environments, and that really was kind of the best we'd seen to date. And I don't know how many other players are doing what they're doing. At least if they are, they're not broadcasting it quite the same way that Hello Ara has done, and that team there. So it's going to be interesting to me to see if other players pop up, because I think that the technology not only has been there, but now we've got the kind of AI assisted, making it easier to make it better and stronger and
Yep.
solid. So it'll be interesting to see if more players pop up in this space. I'd like to see it. I think it's cool, and I think the potential is there, and yet not being leveraged quite the way I see it.
Yep. Yep.
I don't think it's being maximized and used to its potential yet. So
yes, agreed.
But maybe this like coding shortcut will get us there.
Maybe it will. Right. Because if I understand it correctly, as all things, it starts with a text prompt. And there's no reason why that text prompt can't be a question.
Yeah.
And then, creating more of an interactive kind of gameplay type of scenario. We've seen applications over the years that were custom built, kind of bespoke research games that were very cool and very effective and did, just really neat things. It was just hard to reach scale.
And I also think that there is still it's going to sound ageist. I don't want to be ageist, but I think there is a misperception of the gaming community and who gamers are, and a lack of appreciation that, like very mainstream people also game. I mean, whether it's somebody in our company who I know, has kind of a gaming hobby is not the right word, a part of their life that's a gaming passion. And my son, he games with his friends all the time. As a young adult, they leave their 9-to-5 day jobs where you wouldn't think of them as gamers, and then they stay up half the night, playing games with each other and interacting. And it's just such a it's somebody else that I know. Like, I was having a video call with her for a meeting yesterday, and I see the TV going in the background, and that's during her husband's workday. I just think gaming is so much more mainstream, and so those immersive environments are ripe for people like that. People who just, this is what they like to do. They like to be in immersive environments. Give them what they want.
Absolutely, 100%. That
I just sound preachy? I'm preaching.
No, preach away, sister. Nancy is she the gamer?
No. I'll call out Kat. I mean, I think Kat would be okay with this, but no, Nancy, it's Kat. And which actually fits. Kat is she's super tech savvy too, so it just fits with everything. So, and yeah, Cassie, you're another one. This woman, Cassie, I used to work with her when she was at Venture Foods. You see Cassie, you would not think of, she just does not fit stereotypical molds. Like she, anyway, so I think that's a switch to is almost here. See, immersive environments. Anyway, this is why I preach, because I think that it's paradigm shifting, and yet people aren't embracing it just yet. So.
Oh God, back last thing, we can move on. In around 2010, I was when Farmville and all of those Facebook games were emerging, and I was pitching hard to build what I call Brandville, which was basically a game like Farmville, but focused on your brands, your shopping, right? And utilizing it as a data collection model. And I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And everybody else said, dude, you're crazy, and we're never going to do this. Until it came out that Zynga, who built those games, said, we're a data company.
Yeah.
Games is just a way to engage people to get data. And I've just ever since have just thought we need to think a whole lot more like that. And now technology like this can allow us to break free of the confines of how we've thought about things from a form perspective and focus on engagement and get data in all new ways. So I think it's really exciting, and pay attention, guys, that all this AI stuff's a hell of a lot more than just a chat bot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. All right, let's talk about some business things. So let's talk about the next one. We have partnerships. We have, you know, new launches
products. Yep.
going on. Yeah, new products. So Paradigm Sample and Interbrand have announced their partnership. Data collection with you know, a brand strategy, you know, kind of partnering those two things. This is not the first partnership that's around those two pillars, right? So
nope. It's data, first party data driving marketing. We'll get to it later on. You know, there's a lot of stuff happening in the, well, we'll get to it more, but the first party real data has to be what drives personalized marketing via AI, right? It is not anybody who thinks we can just do it off of scraping the web. When 50% of it is crap, that's not going to work. So I think that's what, you know, we're seeing here is the continual development of those type of relationships. People recognizing access to data is what's going to drive marketing effectiveness.
Good, clean, high quality data.
Good, clean, high quality data. Absolutely. First party data. Yep. Absolutely.
Very cool. A couple other launches. Let's get into them. I don't know which of these like stood out the most to you. We have like kind of three in a row here. Obviously, I want to talk about the last one, but Pure Profile launching Data Rubico.
Yep.
Pure Profile. I always think of them as, you know, water sponsor at APAC. That's one. Other things as well.
Yeah. I mean, you know, full disclosure there. I'm an advisor there, so I knew this was coming, and good stuff. They're leveraging their data assets in new ways, which is what we've been saying for, you know, our entire history now, for the last 87 episodes. If you're a panel company, there's so much more that you could do. Here's an example.
So this whole like self-serve insights platform, is this kind of like self-serve, like, you know, kind of the original Zappy model of being able to kind of like pick and choose what you want from like the Zappy store? Is that what this is?
So there's kind of some pieces of that, because they've established some good relationships with partners, and they've embedded those technologies, like SideX, for example, on this, for data collection. They're working with Quilt, you know, so yes, there are a variety of modules and tools that you can pick and deploy, but there's also this data overlay, for both sampling and for analysis, that comes in. And you know, they're building, building out kind of the one-stop shop for high quality sample data collection, analysis, and also, you know, kind of building synthetic sample and those type of things. It's all wrapped up there. It's what every company like them should be doing. Hats off to them being nimble enough to not be first out of the gate, but pretty quick in the front of the pack.
Cool. Well, so speaking of synthetic, let's just split the order of these two briefs. So Pinio AI debuts synthetic focus groups with AI moderators and panelists. So qualitative tools, simulating group discussions. Interesting. Like we've talked a lot about kind of synthetic data for interviews, but this one I'm curious about because it's the group aspect. I'm very curious about how do we like, I don't know that anyone's talked about that yet, like synthetic personas interacting with one another in a focus group discussion. I'm like, what? So anyway, that's to me, I don't know. It's just something I have to see in action to see what I think of it. Like conceptually, it's not any different from a synthetic persona answering one-on-one questions or you know, it's the group part of it that's I'm like, all right, let me see what that's about.
Our friends at Sparky have had that for a while as part of kind of the ideation process for marketing, developing, specifically around advertising and marketing. I think this is broader. The question is not, I didn't see it addressed, is going to be what's it based off of? If they're using, I am, this week I've become very jaded about the quality of general data driving most LLMs. So I hope that it's based off of some proprietary data set that is, really based on real people. And I would say that I would be skeptical if we would get anything of depth. Doesn't mean so Opinio, I'm not poking holes. No shade. I have not seen any synthetic sample yet that gets past kind of surface stuff.
Yeah.
So which is totally appropriate for some things.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for that outlier type of insight, I don't know that that's going to be appropriate. I could be wrong. Apinia, reach out to me and show me. Show both of us.
Right? Like we'll both get on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just had a podcast episode recording that'll launch a week from Monday, and we were talking about kind of synthetic data and AI assisted tools and platforms, et cetera, et cetera. But we were talking about depth. Actually, that word came up quite specifically about when we need depth of understanding or internalizing, depth of kind of embodying what's at heart here, the importance of what we're learning or seeking to learn. We just are probably not going to trust anything synthetic, because depth of learning comes from human interactions. You and I read all the articles in the world, and then we have conversations, and suddenly it comes three-dimensional for us both. So
yes, agreed. And I've been thinking about this a lot, that the outlier is the signal. It may not always be what is most important, but it is important. And I don't know that the LLMs today can deliver the outlier either. So but here we are, fully synthetic.
Here we are.
Focus groups, right?
Okay, Opinio. I want to create personas of everybody on the Green Book team, and then drop a hot topic to that group and see something we might talk casually about on like a leadership team call or something. Like, see what the synthetic personas for all of the Green Book leadership team do when we drop a topic in. Like, I'd love to be a fly on the wall for a conversation that simulates what we might actually talk about.
Monkeys dance.
Too much. All right, discuss. Let's get to discuss. So they've launched an AI agent research solution called Discuss Now, rapidly conducting insights conducting interviews at the same time, then kind of quickly analyzing the insights. So
and recruiting.
Yeah.
So
and recruiting. Yep. Recruit, moderate, synthesize, all in one stream.
Look, hey, the Discuss guys, shout out, right? They've been on this from day one. They were one of the early companies out of the gate with grabbing. Jasmine, that would be a complex group.
I know.
When you smiled, I had to see what you're smiling about. We're looking at the comment, Jasmine on our team.
Those of you on YouTube, Jasmine, who's our head of marketing, was like, that would be a complex group, like laughing. So she was right with me in the in the leadership team persona chat. Anyway, please continue.
Yes.
Discuss.
No, just shout out to to Jim and all of those guys. They were quick to see the applications of AI in for qualitative. The Discuss IO is one of the. They were first of kind of automated online groups in terms of automating the sampling and recruiting and making that really fast and efficient. They've when AI came along, they continue to just kind of add new stuff in and pushing the boundaries. So it's very agentic, and we are in that era now. So we'll see more.
Heads up, at some point we'll start to have a promo for our AI event that's going to be coming at us in October, like soon is what in my head. I just keep thinking soon, because we've closed our call for speakers. We have record number of submissions. We're going to be talking about a lot of agentic work. So reach out to Dana if you want to get in on sponsoring that event. There are still some sponsored spots available, although there are not any organic spots available. So we had just so many fantastic call for speaker submissions, and it's companies like that are going to be leading that conversation for us, because they're really like implementing the next, this next wave of AI. Like, we are so past just, generative AI to help you as a researcher. No, that's not what we're talking about anymore. We're so far past that now.
Yes. Whole new dimensions opening up around us.
Cool.
But now that said, let's get into
I was going to say that's a segue. So we keep there.
Yeah, so great article on AI is fueling a surge in malicious bot activity online. More than half of all web traffic
Yeah.
is an AI bot. Now, what's interesting about that is we've talked about that when you have agents talking to agents, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is this future where that may just be an organic outcome where that is what's happening. And
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think that's where we are yet, though. So today, the idea of social media reviews, all of those things just being bot driven, uh, feels more malicious,
Yeah.
um, feels more fraudster-y,
Yeah.
very similar to the bots that we see in Sample.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but that does go to, and there's an article we'll share here in a minute too, on we know that these models collapse when they are self-referential,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so we've got bots feeding traffic, and you got AI analyzing, website traffic, and there's just this weird, you know, uh, this weird self-referential cannibalism, type of thing happening.
Yeah.
Uh, Stuff gets weird.
Stuff gets
They,
weird. And you just reminded me as you started talking. So I just messaged Carly a link to Mary Beth Weber, who's, with the case for quality. She had shared a post within the last week or at least 1 week ago about somebody's Substack talking about the quiet collapse of surveys. And so even though it's anyway, it's somebody's POV on this, but it's all related, right, to
Mhm.
these bots and the fraud. And now our eyes are all really open to how prolific's not the right word, but how perfusive or anyway, struggling for the right
Pervasive.
pervasive. Thank you. I'm struggling for the right vocabulary word. How
It's a
pervasive
P word. It's like,
word. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like, and yeah, AI is enabling bot activity at a scale. It's like just when we scale our research, guess what? Malicious
yeah.
activity is getting scaled as well, which is unnerving at
Yeah,
best.
it is. I almost added it in here just for us to think of. It was an X post of a video of a bot farm, pure tech bot phones, right, in China or whatever. I mean, literally, it was kind of amazing. Thousands of phones plugged into a dock, connected into a server. AI is running them and doing God knows what type of nefarious crap. But
Yeah.
um, the yeah, it's real. So
Yeah.
is this is the type of stuff you mentioned last week. Don't be a downer. I'm not. The
Yeah.
as This is one of those, as amazing as all the opportunities for AI are,
Yeah.
just like within research, but
Yeah.
there is a fundamental garbage in, garbage out, and
Yeah.
we're getting more and more indications that that's a problem.
And there's a difference between being a downer and being pragmatic. Approach this pragmatically, people. Like, it doesn't mean like, the end of the world and dystopian society necessarily, but it means open your eyes. And segueing into this next thing,
Yep.
Green Pepin had shared a link, and I think the link that Carly's about to share actually brings you right to the list, but an ultimate list of 115 data quality resources curated by Case for Quality.
Yep.
So fantastic resource list, Karine. Thank you for sharing. And we will also kind of share that here. Um, it's important to continue this conversation about data quality and not say things like, "Oh yes, we discussed that. Let's move on." Like,
Right.
we're no, this is an ongoing conversation, and these tools are, are critical.
And the stakes are getting higher.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, truly, we're seeing that. So
yeah,
the stakes are getting higher.
yeah,
So, yeah. So pay attention. On a related note, our friends at EMI released the Sample Landscape 2025.
yeah,
They've been doing this for a few years now. EMI is they're really experts kind of blending samples, a service layer onto, uh, making sure you got the right sample sources for whatever your project is. They've been doing it for a long time. They're great. And explores trends like synthetic respondents, AI's role in response quality, API-driven sample management. They have some metrics that they've compared to their own studies of different sample providers on some key metrics. So definitely worth checking out. It's a labor of love for the EMI team, and appreciate them sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the camps of future reading,
these last two are good. They're
these
interesting.
are good, but you got to read them. Like they're both reads, right? So one of them is generative AI's role in the future of consumer insights, explored in the Journal of Consumer Research, and that one's interesting because it first of all, it gives a framework. Don't we love frameworks? Like, we're such nerds.
It's very academic. It's printed in academic journals. So,
I'm like, it's a framework. It's a framework talking about how it's shaping research. But what's interesting about this one, it also gives you some solutions. Like, it gives you kind of like okay, here's a framework, and here's what you really need to do. So, for example, if we've got a world of bias happening in some of the generative AI produced stuff, right? Bias is a part of it. It is a problem. So what can we do? Well, we can make sure that we are using, diverse data sets, interviewing marginalized or underrepresented communities, also like making sure that we are staying true to the universe, and making sure we're training it properly so that it is not just a biased view of everything, giving it clear directives for that, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, so a good read, a long read, an academic read, but have at it, friends.
Yes. And there's a cautionary component of that as well that reinforces what we've been talking about, that everything you just said, those solutions are important, because we don't, we kind of aren't going down a great path of quality and impact and differentiation. It just becomes kind of everything just becomes crap. It's kind of the essence. But it doesn't have to be. It does not have to be. There's a lot that we could do. So it was a great piece. And then the last one, Fran Walton, the pros and cons of AI generated user data compared to traditional human input. So synthetic users versus human respondents in research. Just really appreciate the rigor of putting all those things together. There wasn't stuff we hadn't talked about, but she did a great job of just putting everything together with more depth and nuance that maybe we've gotten to on this show. Definitely worth checking out.
Yeah. And especially hold on, let me just make sure Carly adds that ultimate list that Karine shared. So I just want to make sure she goes back up to that bullet point and shares that actual list, because good resources. Anyway, this last article or thought piece, I think in the context of the conversation you and I have had throughout this particular live stream today, is about the synthetic. Like, it's a good time for us to really be thinking about synthetic data and the different use cases. And yes, faster, better, cheaper, sure.
Yes.
Faster, better, cheaper, but define better, because if better is deeper, synthetic might not be the way to go. So how are you defining better? Better doesn't always mean deeper.
We'll say, excuse me, one last thing on that. It was interesting this week. I was in debate with a client who has a synthetic sample offering. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
And their thinking was the primary research, both within the brand side organizationally, as well as the driver of business decision making, would be gone in 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know about all that, but here was my kill shot in that conversation. So that's interesting, except for Google, Meta, Amazon continue to build their primary research organizations. They have their own proprietary AI. They probably, the stuff they have behind the curtain is probably a hell of a lot better than what they made available publicly, but yet they still keep investing in primary research. Because, to your point, nuance, depth, context, get to the why. I just don't think these solutions, they may get there one day, but they're not there yet. So yes, so I don't think our we're going to be replaced by robots yet.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually probably a pretty, if ever, pretty
Yeah.
far off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's focus on what we do better than anything else.
Yeah. Exactly. Good way to end. Good way
Good
to
way to end. All right, there we go. There's my inspirational soapbox for the day.
Oh my goodness. Well, on that note, again, I know we leave you with a lot of reading, but but keep at it, folks. We're all in this. We're all in this together.
We are.
Yes, and I hope that everybody has a good weekend. I'm sure there's lawns to mow or barbecues to get to or beaches that have sun as opposed to the ones near me that don't, because it rains on weekends in the Northeast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody in the Northeast knows it just rains on weekends. That's just, I think it's been 8 weekends in a row that it's rained up here. So anyway, but I hope everybody enjoys whatever they've got going on.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll be back same bat time, same bat channel.
maybe with something fun to think about for the Grit Forum. So oh goodness, good, Brian. Good to see you here. So yeah, cool stuff, everybody. We will talk to you next week. Have a great one.
Yep, everybody take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.